All right, fantastic. So ladies, again, I'm just going to reiterate, I am Angela Lewis, also known as ALove. This is Woman Empowered, and I have the pleasure of having an amazing lady on here that recently just got to know her, and of course it was through a referral. So it's really exciting to see that, people can share, their resources and share their connections and say that, I think this is a place for you to show up. So when we talked, initially it was for the Kiss with ALove podcast, but I was telling her that back in May, the 30th actually of May, so almost 30 days ago, I had a empowerment conference, and it was a married or single, I am a woman empowered. And so in the empowerment summit, I had different ladies come in. We had 12 ladies, and it was amazing. And what I did was put together an ebook, and one of the qualities of the ebook was being resilient. So when I got to talking to Dyuanna, I realized that she's a resiliency coach. So I'm like, oh, well, God just put people in your pathway to help you to, put together your mission and your vision and, just kind of put things out there. So I politely asked her if she would mind switching the platform over to this one so that we can, let her share some of her information about being resilient, because I think it's extremely important during this time. And of course, being a beautiful spirit like she is, she said yes. So I'm very, very happy about that. And I'm just going to read a little bit about her bio, and then we're going to go ahead and jump into the discussion for tonight. So ladies and gentlemen, if the gentlemen are watching, this is Miss Dyuanna Calhoun. She is a resiliency coach for African-American women. Her purpose is to provide African-American women with tools and support to navigate through triumphs and challenges in life. She did not get there overnight, though, to her destination. It was inspired by a positive, life-changing experience with a life coach. Dyuanna took a leap of faith, asked for help, and was coached and encouraged to put herself out there in life and in love. Serving as a dutiful caregiver for her dad over the years, taught her how to love and prepared her for the love of her life, Mr. Eric Calhoun, who she met online and has been married to for the past 5 years. If there's one thing that Dyuanna knows, it is that through pain, we can find purpose, and she wants to help you mine your soul to uncover the gems within. Love that Bible. Love that bio, Dyuanna. Yes. So as I said, Miss Dyuanna Calhoun is here with us. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much, Angie, for having me. I'm honored to be here, as this is a new experience for me, because I have rarely ever been on this side of the microphone, so to speak. So I'm just thrilled to be here at this moment and share with people what being resilient is all about, which we all are. We all are resilient. So.
Absolutely. And I love it because I always say that, although there are trials, although there are tribulations, and of course, we all have our different lots in life. Bottom line, we may bend, but we're not going to break. And that's where the resilience piece comes in, is being able to know that you can come through something, you can survive anything and come out stronger, on the other side. So what I want to talk about is being simply Dyuanna, which is the name of your coaching profession with the Resiliency Coaching Program. But I want to know, how did you get into that? Because I'm trying to think, you're probably the first resiliency coach I've heard of. So I'm very interested to hear how that came about.
Well, you cannot ask for patience and not be tried. You cannot call yourself a resilience coach or say that you're a resilient person unless you accept that you have and you will go through things in life. Mm-hmm. And for me, it was not something that I chose to, because from a very young age, as a young girl, I was super sensitive to external stimuli, meaning I was bullied. I allowed what other people said about me to really impact me. And then you add a few layers of just comparing yourself to other people. You know, that leads you down a dark road. I cannot, for the life of me, I have tried to figure out why I felt that way at such a young age, because certainly my mother and father and my family did not, that was not the fertile ground from which I sprung. But I've allowed myself to leave that alone and just say, that's just how I arrived here. I arrived here in that, with that mindset for whatever reason. And so I felt locked within myself a lot as a child and unable to really communicate what I felt. I was always wanting to please people. And that's, you know, that is just covering yourself in layers of what other people want, how they view you. And so over the years of, and you throw in some experiences that were, you know, like molestation as a child, feeling shamed about that, not knowing how to deal with trauma, never having really learned that. You learn it from visual cues of things happening to parents or adults in your life. But in particular, I believe in the Black community, we are just taught to suck it up, keep it in the house, pull it together, and move on. And that's just what I did. I began to camouflage my pain. And of course, that's going to lead me down a dark and lonely road, which it did. And I just got tired of being sick and tired of myself. I became tired of finding myself in jackpots, you know. It took me a while to recognize the patterns of behavior that I had created for myself. So, but at the same time, I always did have a sense of there was something I could do to help me, you know. But again, I looked outside of myself because we're taught that all answers, you know, are found outside of yourself. If you do this, or if you do that, if I can only do that. But it just didn't work for me. Once I tapped into self-help and started to become more honest with myself, because again, when you are dealing with trauma and you don't know how to communicate that to anyone, you create stories that will allow you to get through that. And don't challenge those stories a lot of times. So you kind of grow up thinking that that was really your childhood or that's the way things were. But I needed to challenge myself. And in challenging my belief systems and the stories that I told myself, to kind of get out of the jams I put myself in, I did seek the assistance of a coach. And she was able to allow me to see my behavior and patterns and make the connection of how emotionally tied and spiritually tied I was to all of that. And ultimately, I began to turn the page and accept myself and tell the truth. You know, prior to that, I had some other experiences where I did some self-inventory, and you just have to tell the truth about yourself. You really have to go there. And that's what I mean by mining your soul. Going, when you think of a mine, it's dark, it's dangerous, but you know that that's where the finest gems are treasured. We know that. We want that diamond, we want that emerald, but we don't want to go there and get it, right? But we must do that within ourselves. And it's dark, it's dangerous, it's exciting, that's life. But you can recover. So all along while I'm doing this self development work and navigating through life's traumas with death of my mother and, you know, family illnesses and things like that, I realized that, you know, God has given me that resilience, that bounce back, that sense of optimism, that something in me that just won't allow me to give up on myself. And so I was actually led to calling myself a resilience coach. I came upon something that I had written 10 years ago, and I was using that terminology then and not fully understanding it then. So,
Wow.
yeah.
That's good. And I mean, you said so much in that piece because I mean, I don't think it's a person who's tuned in now or that will tune in later that hasn't went through a personal trauma as a child. And you know, when you think about it, most of the things that play out in your adulthood typically happen from something traumatic in your childhood, whether it is molestation, whether it is abandonment issues, whether it is being rejected. All of those things kind of take you to a place where you kind of go within yourself. But like you said, it's very hard to dig deep to get past whatever it is that's hindering you to find out the real gem that's underneath. And so I'm glad that you kind of brought that out because, you know, I did want to mention because I know that you do the mining for your, is it mining your soul? Mine Your Soul Mondays, as a matter of fact. But I love the fact that you brought that process out because it makes me kind of think, you know, when they say people are mining or searching for gold or whatever, you know, and it was an example of a gentleman that was right there at it and he stopped before he can get it. So that kind of speaks to being able to make sure that you take the time and don't stop before you get your breakthrough, before you get the true essence of your soul.
That's right. Absolutely. I love that.
Yeah, I was really, when I saw it, I was like, oh, that sounds so good. But now that you said, actually talked about what it means, it takes on an even different meaning for me in terms of, like you say, just kind of understanding that there's so much more to who you could be if you could just own up and acknowledge some of the things that happen and realize that it didn't break you.
One of the hardest things for me to do, and for most women, when you really want to be honest, is to say who you are. Who am I?
Mm-hmm.
Who am I? Immediately you start with the labels. I'm a mother,
Right.
I'm not saying you're not any of those things,
Right.
but you start with the external things,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I struggled with labels. And I don't know, I'm going to date myself, but back in the 80s when I was growing up, it was like a big deal to have labels, you know, designer labels back then and when I was in high school, and it made me feel a certain way,
Yeah.
you know, or if I didn't have it, it made me feel a certain way, right? So I know I've always had struggles with labels.
Mm.
And that's why it was really hard for me also to say, Dyuanna, who are you? So you have to peel back those layers
Mm-hmm.
because that's who so and so says you are. So that became your truth. Those are the stories,
Right.
right? And so when you start tapping into the truth, that's when you start getting into those pain points. And that's going to lead you directly to your core and your soul and who you are in the essence of who you are, I believe.
Mm. That's good because I guess it's just so hard sometimes when you have always been told a certain thing by a certain person. So at some point you start believing whatever that is. And it could be a lie, but because that person, and normally it's a person of authority, whether it's a parent, whether it's a teacher, whether it's a pastor, you know, you tend to believe what people tell you about yourself, you know, and without even really fully exploring if that really is your truth. You know how some kids can think like, oh, well, I'm not really good in school. Who told you that? Why do
Right.
you believe that? Maybe just because you didn't do well in a certain subject doesn't mean that you're not good in school. You may be challenged with that, but you could be excellent in everything else. But because somebody tells you and you believe it, you go down this whole pathway of, no, I'm not good at that. And you automatically shut it down. So it does speak to taking the time to really get to know yourself. And I think one of the things I wanted to ask, because I know you're really big on personal development. And so what would you advise, or how would you advise someone on mastering self-discovery so that they can be authentically and unapologetically themselves?
So the word mastery, as it relates to mastering your self-discovery, it's kind of an oxymoron to me in a sense, because the way I look at myself is I'm always in a state of evolution and evolving. So I'm not going to ever master me.
Mm-hmm.
What, but I can remain open to what I discover about myself, one. And two, I would say be open to redefining who you are. You can
Oh, that's good.
redefine who you are at any moment because it's you and it's your philosophy, it's your life. And I'll give an example. As a child, I was the go-to girl that my mother would send to go do this for her friend, or could you
Mm-hmm.
take this there? Can you do this? Can you do that? And so I benefited from a good feeling of satisfying my mother,
Mm-hmm.
and she benefited because she knew she could count on me like that.
Right.
But at some point, heck, I didn't always want to do that.
Like, I don't want to be bothered with Miss Barbara this weekend, boo. No.
But you know what? I never said anything. That behavior carried over into relationships,
Mm-hmm.
friendships. That behavior uh, spilled over into marriage and business,
Mm.
always wanting to please people.
Mm. And
Because
I can
I want to
relate.
be a good girl. The good girl does this. The smart girl does that. You see, but then so I put on this face, and inside I'd be pissed or just uncomfortable because it didn't fit me anymore, and I felt like I wasn't standing up for myself. Doggone it, I wanted to say no, but I kept
Right.
saying yes to things that I didn't want to. Um, so you have to come to a point where you just own up to the truth for yourself. It no longer fits. I can't wear that jacket anymore. I'm going to take it off. And whoever has an issue with that, oh well. The other thing is, I remember when that type of behavior would have me thinking, and this, I'm really going to be transparent on this because I know somebody else can relate to this. I would make decisions on purchasing certain things or decorating my house or doing something because if they could see me now. Now, I don't know who they were or are, and I can certainly
Right.
tell that they weren't thinking about me.
Mm.
But you get caught up in your stories because, again, trying to achieve or feel a gap, a lack,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and these are behaviors that will show up, you
Mm.
know, and I had to deal with that because I'd be like, why did I do that? They don't know, they're not thinking about me.
Maybe they somewhere eating chicken, honey, enjoying their life and not
I'm not
thinking about it.
thinking about them. So how are, but we get caught up in that
Yes.
in one way or another. We all do. And you have to, again, that's not authentic living. So you have to take that coat off or peel that layer off and just start to settle into who you are and being okay with redefining who you are at any moment.
That's so good. And I'm going to say that Miss Pat said that she's defined herself according to the roles she's held as a wife, as a mom, etc. And that's when she decided to go on a journey of self-discovery a couple of years ago. Then Jaleese came back and said she was very focused on describing and defining herself professionally. Not reaching the heights of my professional endeavors with titles to match could have meant a lifetime of dissatisfaction for me if I let it. Luckily, I woke up and realized I am enough too. Dyuanna served as my resiliency coach earlier this year. She is amazing. Yes, Jaleese, thank you. I see that. And Nicole says, I'm at the point in my life, I am refining and redefining. Nikki, no excuses or permission being asked. Boundaries and self-preservation is a must. I'm also evolving constantly for the better. Yes, Nikki, yes, I love that.
That's
You
right.
know, I think that it is so relatable, and I'm so glad. I know why God wanted me to have you on this platform, because as women, we do suffer so much from people pleasing. We always want to, like you said, be the good girl. My father was a minister. So, growing up in that environment, it was always like, I have to be a certain way. I have to act a certain way, and it does at some point build up a facade. You have a whole nother character that you create who does everything that good girls and smart girls are supposed to do. But at some point in time, you're absolutely right. It gets to a point where you start becoming resentful of the very thing that you used to take pride in. Then you start creating a life that's no longer even anything that you can recognize, because now you're in your head thinking, girl, no ma'am, no way, but out of your mouth pops, oh yeah, sure, I will. And you're looking, like you said, what made me do that? Why did I say that? But from years, it's like being conditioned to do that behavior over and over again, to, like you said, you start thinking, okay, so I'm gonna buy this because I need everybody to know that I achieved this, or I've done this, or I've whatever. And like you said, people don't care. So for ladies who are in the chat, if that's you, if that's been your life, if you've had issues with people pleasing, please put it in the chat, because this is a time to be set free. Miss Dyuanna is going to set us all free and let us be resilient tonight, because we have got to. And I love what Nikki say: evolve constantly.
Right. Yes, and which is side note. That's the name of part of the name of her company. I know her. Her company is Evolution, and I love that evolution. It's motion. It is. We should all be there. I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
cannot drink from a stagnant pond.
Right.
Okay, but Lord, my cup runneth over
Mm.
in the flow of a river, right? So you have to always stay in motion. Not, always. I won't say always, because there are times for you to be still and cloaked. But yes, make sure that you're evolving. Um, it's sad that there are some people who don't.
Yeah, it is. And I think, and I know Christine says she's patience is a form of action. She's a recovering people pleaser as well. But, I think that for a lot of people, we just get so caught up. And for most people, they don't like change. You kind of want it because it's safe, and if you play it safe, at least you kind of know,
That's
but you miss out on so much when you don't continue to evolve. And I think one of the ladies in my Hot Wife Society, we were talking about with your spouse, you have to evolve together, because at some point in time, when one of you was out here seeing the world and getting exposed to different ideas, you're growing at a different trajectory if you don't grow together. And once one person is stagnant, after a while, it's easy to entertain people who are moving and flowing like you are,
that's
versus
right.
coming back home and thinking like, guess what I did today? And they're like,
Shut you down. Yeah.
shut you down. And so and people wonder how affairs happen. They wonder how, people leave after years of marriage. And a lot of times it is because you don't grow and you don't evolve together. You can't, the person that you met 10, 15 years ago is not the same person you are now.
No,
It's unrealistic to even believe that.
that's right. And I think fear is so slick, hip, and sly. Just it cloaks it. Just it can be found in almost every fiber.
Mm-hmm.
And people step on the brakes to growth out of fear,
Mm-hmm.
I believe.
Mm-hmm.
fear of what they might find, fear of change, which is change is the only constant. And in your life, if you consistently find yourself in certain environments or behaviors or situations, you have to look at the constant, which is you. So if you're unhappy and you constantly find yourself in unhappy relationships or relationships that don't feed you, you're the constant. You're choosing. There's an opportunity for growth. And then there are some people who really, no matter. I'll give another example. We, but I have to be honest. My first husband, I married him because we were good friends and we'd been together, and I felt like, well, we've been together, we'll probably be together, and
Mm-hmm.
I knew, if I really want to be honest, that it wasn't right for me in the long run. You know
Right.
why? Because I never had vision. I never saw it.
Mm.
Right.
Wow. That's good.
And I just kept telling myself creating this story. It had to go along with, I was the director, and I had not yet come to a point where I was ready to be totally honest with myself, because I was still building these stories. I had,
Mm-hmm.
he was this great this, and we're traveling here, we're doing this, we're doing, you know, so I had become adept at camouflaging. You know,
Mm.
outside looked like I had it going on.
Right.
I was a hot, funky mess, right? So I had to go inside and be honest, because after we separated in the divorce, I did not want to be bitter. Just to hear
Yeah.
the name made me cringe, and I didn't want to be her. And the only way I was able to save myself from her was to own the truth, own the fact that you knew when you went down that. I own the fact that you went ahead with this marriage,
Mm-hmm.
but did not want other people, so I had to come to that realization. And I think it's freeing, it's liberating when you can set yourself free because of your truth and redefine what you may have said it was. No, that's where I was then. This is my truth today.
Oh, that's so good. And I see Christine say, indeed, truth is freedom. And Nicole said, honesty is the best way to heal. Love it, Dyuanna. I'm going to share for myself being married, my first marriage. Um, Again, because I was a preacher's child, I thought that getting married, I would be together, be with this person for the rest of my life, and I dealt with infidelity and a lot of things that I should not have, that I didn't want to be bothered with, that I was very hurt and upset by, but I stayed there because I felt like that was the expectation for me, to be married and to, put up the front like everything was great and we're happy and all of that, and in hindsight, when you look at it, you start thinking like, you know, to it was a disservice to me to put my feelings on hold just because of what somebody else would say. And we wound up getting divorced anyway. You know what I'm saying? So I could have easily avoided that. And really, like you said, even before walking down the aisle, I already knew that, that would probably be my life. But I still felt like, oh, it's a good look, and it's time for me to get married, and what I'm saying. I mean, this is just like kind of sort of what they say about your parents telling you, go to school,
That's
then you
right.
graduate, go to college, and get you a good job, and you stay there, and you thinking like, okay, this is success, but why am I not happy? This is not looking like what I thought my life would look like, and so. In hindsight, I'm so glad that you're saying that now, because where we are right now is a defining moment for most people. COVID and the racism and the social injustices has really caused people to put a hard break on what they've been showing up as and how they want to continue being seen. And so to make a decision now of being unapologetically you, whatever that looks like, and understanding that you don't owe anybody anything but to be true to who God calls you to be, and then to be true to yourself. And if you can get those two things right, everything else, nothing else really matters, because it will all fall into place. But we put so much emphasis on they, and girl, we don't know a bit more who they are. And you're absolutely right. We still looking like, well, who was they? Again, who am I doing this for?
Right.
Exactly. So in the resilience piece, I think a lot of times we just, don't realize that we can make the change and it will be okay. I think sometimes we think that everything's going to fall apart when we get exposed, when we're not really living how people, or how we've been showing people. I think we're so concerned about what are people going to say, when
Oh
it's not
yeah.
as bad. Once it happens, you're surviving it. You're
Yeah.
still, moving on. Life still, the earth still, the sun still came up in the morning and the moon still came up at night.
That's right. I think one when I was sick and tired of making one of these, I'm just going to pull one. I knew how to make money. I've always known how to hustle and get a job and make money, and spend it and spend it.
Right.
Okay. I did not grasp management of those funds. I was focused on the carrot and the money.
Right.
And that opened the door for everything that my heart desired. So if I was lacking in any area, you better believe I was going to try to fulfill that financially with, and I was in a lot of debt, right? Working hard and not accepting that reality and trying to keep it all together. Once I connected with my coach, who is a financial expert, and she was very transparent with her process. She was like, look, I used to make $60,000, $70,000 a month, and I still was broke. And I'm thinking, how does that happen? But that was enough for me to figure out, well, look, if she could liberate herself, this is someone I want to connect with. And God just, oh, he wrapped it up in a bow and presented it in a way that only he could.
Right.
And that, coming to that realization and saying out loud and in front of everyone, I even did a public piece to state, I had an issue with that. I sought help. I had to say, I'm weak in this area, because my emotions were tied to my spending. And so I was out of control with my emotions and handling them. I really could not identify more than a handful. I was either mad or happy or sad so I needed to learn. And when she started to help me understand this and enlighten me, I was like, oh my God. When you are able to take something that is really embarrassing, that's your Achilles heel, and take that and use it to help other women and liberate other women. It may not be finances for them. It may be something else. But my thing is, it's okay. You're not going to die because everyone finds out your little secret. Now I can live authentically. Now I can live within my budget. Now I can tell you, no, I'm not doing that.
Right.
You see, but we have to come to that point where we were willing to risk that public look, you know.
Yeah.
And like you said, showing up as someone else and being resentful of that.
Right.
So
Exactly.
it's a process.
And I found that, a lot of times health issues come behind the stress and the pressure of being who you aren't. And I love when you were talking about, liberation of being able to speak your truth. Makes me think about the poem with Marianne Williamson about, your deepest fear, and that when you own up and when you let your light shine authentically, then you liberate other people to do the same exact thing. And I think for women, it's time. This is our time now to really start being more transparent, to really start letting people know. Yeah, Christine said her favorite passage. Yes. I think it's time for us to start letting people know our truth and owning it and not being ashamed of it, because even if it's not the same, somebody still goes through something, I mean, even in relationships, how people are so quick to say, oh my God, how could you be bothered with that? But whatever I deal with, you're dealing with something else that I may not can tolerate. So when you get that peace and you get to realizing that, hey, we all go through something. We all struggle with something. We all deal with things, whether we want to or not. We still have done it. And when you can own up to that and still realize that it doesn't make me any less of a person because that happened to me. Less of a person because you dealt with abuse or infidelity or poor money management or whatever your thing was. It doesn't make you less of a person, because that was just a path that God had to get you through in order to overcome, so that you can share with other people, because our lessons are not always for us. They are to share, to help other people.
That's right. I agree. I totally agree. And your village is important too.
Yes.
Your tribe,
Mm-hmm.
your the people you surround yourself with. Um, I heard this years ago, and it was profound when I heard it. But you are the sum total of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're living inauthentically, 9 times out of 10, your tribe is similar. You
Right.
all are putting on, and you all need to and want to be liberated. you know, and
Just
you just
waiting for one person to break down.
one person to break, just break.
Be like, girl, me too. I thought it was just me. Yes. Why
Absolutely,
did you say something sooner?
absolutely. So you have to. Ooh, really? I'm so sorry. Let me close this one. Did you hear that?
I didn't, but yeah, go ahead.
But I'm sorry. Oh, this stop. I'm sorry. But your tribe, I saw something else that said your dreams deserve a village. And I just took that to mean that's just totally me. My dreams deserve a village. Your dreams deserve a village. And that means people in your tribe, they need to be supporting you. They need to support your honesty. Like when you're not being honest with yourself, you need your friend, your soul sister, someone to kind of check you on that. You need to
Mhm.
be open for that. And
That's
you need to
good.
have the confidence to do that as well. Now, every friendship is not the same.
Mhm.
Just like love is, there are various levels to that as well. And I don't think I know all the deep levels of love. I continue to work that out because that's an action. That's an action that you
Right.
demonstrate. But I keep people in close proximity to me who are going to keep me honest with myself, who are
Mhm.
not going to allow me to just give up on myself.
That's good. That's
And
good.
so I think that's important too.
Absolutely. And I think somebody said something about, yes, true friends will tell you like it is with love. Christine, they'll tell you like it is with love. And you have to be okay with not surrounding yourself with yes people, that
Yeah.
everything that you do is great. Everything that you do, yes, it has to be somebody, like you said, who's willing to tell you, girl, don't you go outside looking like that. Or girl, that is not it. Or uh, that's probably not the best person for you. Get somebody who's going to treat you better, whatever the case may be. And even though we don't want to hear it, bottom line, we just really all struggle with wanting to be loved unconditionally, for whoever we are, for our faults. And a lot of times we show up differently because we think that's the person who's going to get that love. And we don't trust that just being ourselves is enough. But if you have true friends, they will definitely tell you no matter what, I mean, it doesn't matter what happened. you know, and that's what I really even try to instill with my girls, you know, I don't care. At the end of the day, I may be mad, but I'm never going to stop loving you. Never going to it's never going to be anything that's going to keep us from being together, you know.
Right.
We'll just have to work through it.
That's
But
right.
it's okay because we're still going to be together, you know. So it's a lot of things I think sometimes we just don't reassure one another about, you know, our value and our worth and all of that. So definitely having a good circle. And if that's not who you have, if you have people who are negative, if you have people who are constantly, you know, putting you down and making you feel like you're not worthy, or that you were blessed to be in their circle but they're not blessed to be in yours, it's time to rethink that.
And again, it's time for you to look within. Why is that acceptable? Why are you accepting that? Why the need to be with that? Why is that your circle? You know, again, you're the constant.
Mm.
And we set expectations for friendship and friends and relationships with other people that we are unwilling to do for ourselves. We want unconditional love, but we lack that for ourselves.
Right.
We want honesty. Hmm.
Can't be true to yourself.
You know, so call it golden rule, call it whatever you want, but it starts with you. The truth starts with you, and your circle and your reality, to a great extent, is going to mirror what you feel inside, what you think about, what you put your time into. You know, they say again, your God can be whatever you put your most time into. You know,
Mhm.
that's so if it's one or two things, and that's not to be judgmental, but it just says that's a pattern probably that you need to look
Right.
at. Right.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the, as you're talking about that, let's talk about the Total Package Women's Network. What's that about?
Yes. Well, you know, back in 2010, Christine is actually the brainchild of Total Package, which,
Hey, Christine.
yes, she's the brainchild. The vision was given to her, and I was along for the ride. And oh my God, it was such an organic and personal growth period for me.
Mm-hmm.
Both of us, we hosted, it's a network of women
Okay.
who come together to support each other and to collaborate. And the whole goal was to consistently create and cultivate a healthy mind, body, and spirit through, again, collaboration, sharing thoughts and ideas. Every week we would have a weekly call from women would call in from all over the country to for a
Hmm.
speaker. It was an amazing time. We have put that on hold for now, uh,
Okay.
germinating into possibly something else. But
Okay.
yes, but
Christina dropped in the comments. She said, empowering women to discover,
thank you.
embrace, and amplify their authentic power.
Oh,
Christine, I know, right there. Yeah. Did
well,
she drop it in the chat? Like, boom, this is what it was
that's
about. I
right.
love that.
That's
Ah.
right. That's right. It was an amazing experience. And I've met so many women and learned so much about myself through their experiences.
Hmm.
Hmm.
That's awesome. And it's definitely needed. You know, it's one of the reasons why, you know, I initially had started the Hot Wife Society because, you know, thinking that, you know, as wives, it's so hard to feel appreciated or to feel like, you know, you're really doing something because, you know, people don't really give wives your just due. You know, a lot of times, you know, when you talk about being celebrated, it is the side chick, it is the mistress, it is the other woman, you know, and nobody really understands that as wives we do a lot, you know, we deal with a lot and we still make it seem easy. And so but from there we went to oh, she said TPWN was created as a reflection of the relationship I have with your get Oh, I bet it was. And I know that it was authentic because just in talking to her, Christine, I could tell just the sweetness of her spirit and just could tell that, she genuinely loves to empower other people. And so, and if she's connected to you, then that just means you're amazing as well. So, yes, ma'am. We're looking forward to great things. So y'all make sure you share when you get ready to, go that next level because we would love to, support and encourage and whatever we can do to help with that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yes. So now let's switch over to Chocolate Girl, right?
Chocolate
You're a life
girl.
coach for Chocolate Girl. So tell us about that. Y'all
Yes.
see Miss Dyuanna is doing big things, right? Like y'all see she's connected and making some major moves out here. So tell us about being a life coach for Chocolate Girls.
So, Chocolate Girls is an organization, it's a teen mentoring program that
Oh,
was
wow.
actually founded by Tony Rhodes. She's the visionary, and it over 5,000 young girls have gone through this program.
Wow, that's amazing.
And I would hear about it because we were cultivating a relationship, just getting to know each other. And
Mm-hmm.
just prior to, toward the end of last year, an opportunity presented itself where I was ready to dip my toe back into mentoring and getting back full time into coaching. And the opportunity existed, and we decided to link arms. And the young girls are just amazing. They want help. They are receptive to mentoring.
That's good.
The mothers and fathers are engaged as well. And so what we do is we provide personal development, coaching. There are different workshops that we hold. Unfortunately, because of COVID, uh, everything that was pretty much planned for this year, including our annual fundraiser, has been put on pause at this point.
Right.
You know, so I haven't really been able to do too much interaction with them, but we did have a women's retreat where we hosted their mothers, because you can't help lift and pour into these young daughters and then send them home to mom and or dad, and
Mhm.
and the cup is half full, right?
That's
So we
good.
had to help, and it was an amazing experience. Um, and it just made me love Black women that much more, because I
Mm.
realized that every woman you see, every Black woman, every African American woman you see, just underneath the surface, you have no idea what she's been through. And I can tell you it's a lot. It's a lot. And we
Mhm.
keep it together. We keep it together
Well, you hear me well.
well. But we have to provide those environments and those times where we can let it all out, and sit in our pain, and redefine our lives and our truth, and pull it back together and move forward. So but yeah, that's what I hope to continue to do with Chocolate Girls, as things open up here in Ohio.
Right. Sounds like such a beautiful program. And dealing with young ladies, just to see the newness and the freshness and the excitement about life, and it's such a beautiful thing for young ladies to get it together. Miss Pat said, what a blessing. Absolutely. To see young girls get it early and to know
Yeah.
that, like you said, it takes a village for a dream. It takes a village to, for these young women to come up and understand their worth and their self-esteem and how important, Miss Pat has shared with me before, know your value, know your worth, and then add tax, because we are worth it. Absolutely. And so, but even more so than that, the fact that you guys go back and help the mothers. Because you're right, helping a daughter, if they go back home to negativity or brokenness or, something in their own environment, it short circuits. It's kind of like, when you're using a cord, cell phone cord, and it's raggedy. and every time you plug it up, sometimes you'll get a charge and sometimes you don't, and you got to play with it a little bit to make sure that it, gets that consistent charge. You're like, dang, I thought it was charging. Okay, so I got to twist it a little bit. But that's kind of sort of what it's like. You have got to make sure that as much as you're pouring into them here, that they can go home and it's not going to get destroyed in the process, because then you're just going in circles but never really making a true connection where growth can occur. So I love the concept.
Healing has to occur with the mother, because again, she's been through a lot.
Right.
She's trying to raise you in today's environment.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to be honest, I was quite shocked at all of the heaviness that these young girls have to endure in schools, and just in their peer relationships. It's way more than I had to deal with. And they really are under siege in schools. They really are.
And I
Uh,
hate
just
that.
like
I hate to hear
social
that.
injustice with Black men, I hope people understand that especially in public schools, Cleveland public schools,
Mm-hmm.
and all over, young Black girls are looked at as a threat.
Mm.
Yes. And so we have to save them. They're acting out, and all they're saying is, I need help. This is really what they're saying. So it's important that we don't grow up into these women and have it all together and forget about what it was like when we were 13 and 14 and 15, and
Right.
know the struggles that we endured then. And then you add a lot of tax to that, right?
Yes,
And
absolutely.
they're under siege. So we have to keep them prayed up and lifted up, and we all need to get engaged with them.
That's so good. Because you're right. I'm thinking about like growing up, and we didn't have a lot of, I mean, we could be carefree. We can be outside and play. And all we needed to know was you better have yourself in the house before the street lights came on.
That's right.
Hey, that's all I had to worry about. It's like, yes, and not be running in and out of the house all the time. Outside
Exactly.
of that, we were good, but they have so, like you said, so much heaviness that they have to deal with, so much, and then you take into consideration, sex trafficking and all the
All
different
that's
things like that,
rampant. It's
it's a lot, it's a lot to worry about. And I mean, even for mothers, to whether you have girl children or boy children, it's still something heavy to think about, with racial profiling, with police brutality, with sex trafficking. I mean, no matter what side you come on, it's something to be stressed out about when it comes to our children.
the
So when you
stress
take
of
on, yeah.
the stress of a mother today, whether you are single or co-parenting or married, the stress of African American families trying to raise children today is enormous.
It
It
is.
is. And even in the best of schools and situations and things, it's just a lot of layers it's just a lot.
It
So
really
again, we have to be gentle yet honest with ourselves, proactive in our healing.
Mm. And
Mhm.
again, I love the word gentleness, and I don't think it's used a lot, but to really understand that we're precious, and so you have to take in consideration with your mind being able to absorb a lot of things and compartmentalize, because everybody can't do that. I think the resilience that we have as Black women, especially, we're able to compartmentalize a lot of things and still go forth, go to work and still, be productive and still, make sure we don't have enough money, but we make sure it works out, for the kids. So we compartmentalize the hurt and the anger and all the things that we deal with, and then, even sometimes being rejected by our own men. It's a lot of things that for Black women, I don't think people even understand the level of what we have to deal with, on a day-to-day basis. And a lot of times we suck it up because we have no choice. We have to still go forth. And that's why, I really wanted, again, to have you on, just speaking about the resiliency piece, just speaking about the things that we go through, still being able to bounce back from that, still being able to push forward, in spite of, in the midst of, you know, which leads me to speaking about the next thing that I love that you do is taking all of your creativity, taking all of your centeredness and your groundedness and your love of putting things together, because I know you've been gardening and, seeing all these things coming forward. So my soul wellness, I want you to tell them, because I stopped and I was like, I want one of everything. So tell them about that.
Wow. Well, my soul wellness was born out of a promise that I made to my sister, my late sister, who passed from breast cancer last year. And it was nowhere really in I love crafting, have always been a creative, love that. But I did not see myself necessarily making body products or anything because I just didn't. I was into coaching and all of that. But she used um, I would say crafting products as a way to supplement her natural and homeopathic care for cancer because it's expensive.
Yes.
And she was a creative singer, and her designs were like out of this world, and people loved her. She has a wonderful personality, just a magnetic star. And she wanted me to learn how to do this, and I kept saying, okay, I will, but I thought I had more time. And just about a week or so before she passed, I went on YouTube and taught myself, a couple things and made my first loaf. And out of that it became a way. At the time, I didn't realize I was doing it, but looking back, it was a medium for me to grieve prior to her passing, and just really work my grief out that way, but in a creative way. So I was actually channeling that pain and hurt of missing her and all of that into love, into the product, and as a way of my gifting people with the love that I had for her. And so that's one reason also that I call it an intention infused, because when I'm creating the products, it's like maybe, someone has a grandmother that makes this great banana cake or whatever, and no one makes it like her because she puts love in it. She has a process when she's doing it. She's like,
Yes.
And when I'm making the product, I get in the zone. I pray, I ask God, I don't know who, if it's, for generosity, I don't know who this product is going to touch, but I want it to be healing. If it's a product that's specifically ordered, I get myself in that place because that's my way of loving on people. So I'm not interested in necessarily being a big box in a big box store. I like the intimacy and the intention and the love that I'm able to package in my product. So that's how that came about. But what I did need to do is adjust because I'm I'm in recovery for people pleasing.
Right.
So when this all came about, I kept the name that she had created, and I wanted to make it all that she could. She didn't tell me any of that, but that's how I received it. And then I found myself feeling inauthentic and uncomfortable and resentful. And so I had to break loose of that and package it in a way that represented me. And so that's where the name change came, and the rebranding, but nothing else changed. My whole, the way I deliver the product is still the same as with love. I think if you do anything, the way you do one thing is the way you should do all things.
Right.
And so when I'm coaching, I'm doing it from a position of love. and healing. And so when I create products, that's the position from which I work as well.
That's so beautiful. Because I saw where, you were just sharing some of the different things, about the products. And, you got boxes that you do, you were doing something for Father's Day. And then, we talked earlier about the friendship box. So, it's just really nice to see that it's a passion project for you, not only in remembrance of your sister, but also in being able to challenge, some of the different feelings that you were having. I know that I saw where you were saying that you were redirecting most of your energy and emotions like anxiety, joy, anger, optimism, hope into a creative plane and space. And I think for a lot of people who have so many conflicting emotions right now because of what? Because this is a challenging time. Like you said, we don't have a playbook. We didn't have anything to kind of give us a heads up of this is what to expect and this is what you need to do as a result of it. And because we didn't have that, so many people are kind of all over the place emotionally. And so, and yeah, Pass, I love that the way you do one thing is the way you should do all things. Absolutely, yes. So being able to channel your energy and your emotions into something different, especially something creative. And I think my question was, what suggestions can you give the audience on redirecting theirs? How do you take it and place it into something else that can be beneficial, soothing, or relaxing, or can kind of help you get more grounded and centered?
Well, I think there's a calling that's within all of us, that we all have gifts and creativity, things that we have longed to do, but we would always put a limit or put it off because we didn't have time. And so after you get over the uncomfortable feeling of now I have time, what am I going to do because I've been so busy? When you tap into being creative, whether that's doodling, taking a coloring book. I mean, I have crayons, you know. Um, it see when you this is just my opinion, but when you tap into your creativity, it's a direct line into accessing God to me, for me, because it makes you vulnerable. Remember when you were a child and you got to color and make things in class and you didn't think about anything. It was just you and your creativity and God could channel and whatever because he had your full attention because you were being creative. And I think people are so tied into task oriented behavior that they don't know what to do unless they're checking something off the darn list.
Right, right.
And it's just, do a little coloring, maybe paint, poetry, haiku. It's endless. Or sit in the sun, take your shoes off, put your feet in the grass, feel the soil. I started gardening. The process of growing is humbling. It's creative because, I get to design it the way I want it and I get to choose what I want to grow. And I'm constantly, I'm asking God, oh, I'm excited. I have to say the deers, they turned my peppers up the other day. So I'm still learning, but being creative you're only limited by your own imagination. But I say whatever it is that's going to put you in a space of vulnerability. And I know it's uncomfortable because people are uncomfortable with being vulnerable. But again, the work that to be resilient and authentic on a consistent basis requires you to be plugged into your honesty and your truth. It requires you to challenge yourself. So you have to remain open. Remain open to what it's going to look like. Some people, creativity, you could, someone may be a singer. and have not had time to do it. And now you can't do it in person. Well, a girlfriend of mine, I suggested that she use a social media platform. And one day a week, she's writing a song, and she's uh, uploading it to her social media.
Mm.
And that's her way of giving out, giving to the universe, and getting that whatever it is out of her. But we have to find a way to relieve stress. It's a killer. We all know that. And using your creativeness allows you to stay vulnerable, open, and to me opens that portal for you to interact with God.
Mm. That's beautiful. Yes, the connections, the piece of, tapping into your creativity. Because I'm like you, I do believe that everybody has something.
Yeah.
You just have to tap into it and see what it is, and then allow God to manifest it more. But I love that. You are being able to channel it in so many different ways, from the gardening to doing the products and things, and even coaching is a form of expressive, being able to help people to get to their next level and help them to address their needs and things. So all of those, again, like I said, just the spiritual connection. Christine said, yes, God works fully through us via our creative power. It's not just in some of us, it is in us all. Absolutely, absolutely. So we just got to tap into it. Now, one thing you said, and we're going to flip back into relationships, I guess. You said love is like friendship on fire. I want you to expound on that, girl. I read that. I was like, y'all better get your friendship on fire.
Well, you know what? See, okay. So it's a very powerful statement, and it definitely draws like, whoo, where is she going with that? And I happen to have had wonderful experiences with both love and friendship.
Mhm.
And I believe they mirror one another.
Mm.
You can't have great friendships and relationships and have poor love relationships. Now love, you can, Christine, I'll use that her as an example, because she is the first adult female friendship that I had. I
Mm.
had friendships from childhood, but in associates, but in terms of actually putting in the work to get to know this person, to develop a friendship, she's the first experience. And so to have a good, healthy relationship, it requires challenge. It requires you to not have expectations,
Right.
right?
That's
And
true.
when you are able to nurture wholesome relationships, okay? And there are people who say, I hate people, I don't like people. That's interesting to me,
Yes.
because
So
the world,
important.
you're not an island, no one is.
Mhm.
And the art of relationships, of making and creating and nurturing them, is something that you have to work at all the time. And so because I have a very good, healthy relationship with her as a friend, I know what friendship looks like and what it should feel like. So in my love relationship, when we don't like each other today, or
Right.
whatever, for whatever reason, we still have that friendship because we have nurtured it, and we have um, worked at that. And so it should be hot. It should be on fire. It should be something that calls you back. If you have friends or relationships that don't challenge you, that are not exciting, or don't reflect who you are or your philosophy, um, you just have to take a look at that. Okay, you really have to take a look at that. I just had another thought came in with that. I that's how my relationships and friendships look. I'm not saying that's how everyone's should look,
Right.
because I know someone who I just don't have the bandwidth,
Mm-hmm.
but they have all sorts of personalities and friendships. I don't know how they juggle that.
Right.
I'm just saying for me, um, that's what it looks like to me. My relationships are going to, for the most part, be healthy as I want my, that I expect from myself. And usually they're fiery because I'm a challenging person. I'm a challenge. I like to debate and joke and be all of those things. So my
Mm-hmm.
friendships and love relationships are on fire, and that's what I meant by that. um
Yeah.
yeah.
That's good. That's good. It's a great way to see about, not just your love relationships, but your friendships as well. And that it should be with people who ignite that fire, inside of you to want to, be better, to experience more, to, really embrace and enjoy their company. All those things just helps pour back into the person that you are and the person that you're becoming. So yes, that was great, great, great. So I know that we have been on here a little over an hour. So for everybody who is still on, thank you so much for staying with us. I know that you know and see just like I do how amazing Dyuanna is. Like I said, just her presence is so peaceful and calming, and just the fact that she's speaking about yes, thank you, Christine, wonderful convo, absolutely. So before we leave, Dyuanna, I want you to, if there's anything you want to leave the audience with, because of course this is woman empowered. So if you want to leave something with them about being empowered, what would that be?
So, I thought about that, and I actually had something written down because when you're over 50-ish and you have hot flashes and things, things come and go in that mind.
Right.
But the one thing I wanted to, and I even actually touched on some of this, I really did, but I wanted to just remind people that no matter what's going on right now, you and I were born for such a time as now. All is as it should be right now. Okay. So you have to find acceptance with that. It might not look like, 2020 definitely doesn't look like what I had planned.
Right.
I know that I'm here right now for a reason, and it is time to get to the business of your purpose.
Mm,
Okay. All this shrinking and I'm not ready. I'm going to get ready, getting ready to get ready to get ready. The time is now.
mm.
My
Amen.
sister's video came up in the stream yesterday, and I just thought, wow, what a reminder. Nothing's a coincidence. And she said she's a warrior. And she said, don't feel sorry for me. Because yes, I feel afraid. There are times I'm confused, I'm scared, but I embrace not life. And that is what we must do right now. We must embrace life, because what's going to change how we move throughout the world? A diagnosis.
Right.
I can get a diagnosis of cancer, and what? It doesn't matter if it's cancer or COVID or whatever. I mean, I have an issue. I want to be about business of why I'm here,
Mm,
period. And we all should do that. So no more shrinking, um, no more playing small, right? Uh,
right.
be about your business. Get to the business of living your purpose and understand that your dreams deserve a village. So be open to allowing people to help you and asking for help. Ask for what you want, and you're going to get it right now.
Yes, I love that. I love that. I know Miss Pat put in a couple of the hashtags about no more shrinking and about such a time as this. And, you know, y'all know in the reference from Ruth in the Bible, Esther in the Bible, about, you know, such a time as this, you know, and we can't miss the mark. We have to be, you know, prepared. And when you're in power, you have to be ready for whatever. And in order to do that, you have to be resilient. You have to know that if something comes, you just have to figure out how to pivot that thing so that you can still come back and keep doing the things that God has called you to do. So absolutely, you know, no more shrinking, being a warrior. And I saw the video with your sister, and I didn't realize it was your sister until you said that today. But yeah, I saw where you put on the post about being a warrior, you know. And as women, that's who we are innately. You know, it shows up every single time, you know, no matter when you think we're knocked down or knocked out, for whatever reason, we still bounce back and we come back stronger than ever. And it's that warrior spirit inside of us. And so I am so grateful to have you on the broadcast tonight. I am so pleased with the information because, like I said, I already knew that, you know, with the technical difficulties we were having to begin with, I knew it was because you were going to be dropping some information that was going to feed our spirit, feed our soul. So, and that's exactly what you did. So thank you so much, Dyuanna, for being here tonight. I definitely appreciate it. Let everybody know how they can get in contact with you, and if they would like to, you know, connect on other levels. I know you have a podcast as well, right?
Actually, no, I don't have a podcast yet.
Okay. Well, I'm speaking that into existence then. Boom, there you go.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yes.
Maybe I'll be a guest on yours, but anyway, I can be reached on 2 platforms. And I'm really bad when it comes to this. It would be for Facebook. It would be at Simply Dyuanna Coach, and and that's for my resiliency coaching for the African American woman. And then I also have an Etsy shop for my soul wellness. So if you I love Etsy. I got to stay off of there, but my shop is at my soul wellness. And let's see, what else did I miss out on? Instagram. I'm on Instagram as well under my soul underscore wellness for my product line there, and Simply Dyuanna as well.
Awesome. And yeah, the I know, like I said, I know she did boxes for Father's Day. I know she has friendship boxes, but curated for whatever the cause is that you have, you know. But the body butters, I mean, you know, she's got so many amazing things, and everybody was making comments about, oh my God, the scent and this, that, and the other, you know, and I'm just like, definitely got to place an order so that I can get to enjoy some of that luxuriousness as well. So again, for those who are out in the that joined us today, thank y'all for taking your time to spend with us. It has been great. And Dyuanna, again, much success to you in everything that you do. Looking forward to you and Christine coming back, you know, doing some big things too. With your project. And then, of course, you know, with Chocolate Girls, I hope that, you know, as the year progresses, that you continue to be able to do major things with that. And for your resiliency business, yes, for coaching, I know that so many women are blessed. You know, like Julie said, you helped her so much, you know, and so I know that that's just the beginning. There's so many more people out there for you to help. And I know that you're amazing at what you do. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I certainly am honored, and you're doing amazing work as well. Let's continue to just create this momentum and this movement and help our sisters.
Sounds great. Well, guys, that is it for Woman Empowered for tonight. And so just stay tuned for us on YouTube. Like I said, again, hit us up on the group. It is I Am a Woman Empowered on Facebook group. So definitely check us out there and connect. And I would love, if anybody's interested in being on the platform, let me know, because we're all about, you know, women empowering, empowered women, empowering women. So you guys be blessed and have a good night. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.